This is the New York City FC Pregame Live. Tonight, New York City hosts Nashville SC in a return to MLS action. And now, here are your hosts, Glenn Crooks and Matty Lawrence.
The Big Ball Orchard in the South Bronx, Yankee Stadium. 10 games left in the regular season for New York City FC. Every game a final. That's not what I say. That's the club mantra as New York City FC sits below the playoff line here at the start of play on a Sunday afternoon, the first of 3 games in MLS on a Sunday. And we're going to carry one of those games. Hi, I'm Glenn. There's Matty. We are your commentators for the New York City FC radio side as they play host to Nashville. It all starts with Nashville, this 10-game stretch, who are making their first trip to the Bronx. So they've never been to Yankee Stadium. They've been to Sports Illustrated Stadium, which was called Red Bull Arena at the time twice, including last October. And then Citi Field has been one of the other home games for New York City against Nashville. And Matty Lawrence, as will often happen when the opponent, especially when it's their first trip to Yankee Stadium, let's check out a couple of Nashville assistants before the game here. There they are in the center circle. This is about as close as I could get. But they're standing there. They're looking back at this goal. You can see they're pointing because no one believes that goal is in the right spot. They never do. And then they look back at the other one, and now they try to calculate. Oh, it's a little bit off to the – it's just such an awkward place to play. It has been an anomaly for many an assistant coach. They're sent out here now walking into the infield area. And so there you go. So I just thought I happened to catch that. So I said, we talk about it all the time. And I remember Nick Cushing, Ronnie Dyler, Patrick Vieira, they all said the same thing. They love to just sit in the coach's office, and they had the monitor in the office, and they could just look out and see the opponent, walking it off. Usually we see them walking off the 18-yard box too,
Yeah, look, nothing's changed about Yankee Stadium. It's an odd place to play a game of soccer, that's for sure. And with the dimensions and the layout of the stadium, it is difficult to comprehend almost how you fit a soccer field in here. But ultimately, it is the same for both teams. And ultimately, NYCFC have been playing here since 2015. Nothing's changed. It hasn't suddenly come as a surprise. I understand what you're saying. It's the first time they've been here. But you've half got a team when the coaching staff and the manager, the head coach, starts analysing the pitch and how big it exactly is. And that certainly makes it. And then they walk into the sod area over there
and get into shortstop and second base. Yeah, see, it's a little lighter there. The condition is good, though. The last time New York City was here was for the Toronto 3-1 win on July the 3rd. That's how long it's been since the football club has been here.
You said it to me. It looks a hell of a lot better than a soccer-specific stadium in Sports Illustrated Stadium. In terms of that pitch at Harrison, it's an absolute quagmire. It's a cow field. So this looks magnificent in comparison. So if they want to go and play up the road, they can go and play up the road.
Now, one other thing I want to share with you, Matty, and anybody else that's watching, and I like the comms department in Nashville. They're wonderful people. And since we're in a baseball stadium playing soccer, their storylines, like in their notes, they use things like who's on first, that's our ace, save situation, switch hitters.
Well, the thing is, they've been saving
Field of Dreams.
They've been saving those up for 4 years, haven't they? Until finally they get to play here.
Battery mates, fellow MVP candidate Hani Mukhtar leads Nashville in career scoring versus New York City. And then they talk about Sam Surridge, the battery mate. So I thought it was pretty. Force out, catbird seat. Now, catbird seat is cool because that's where a guy named, I'm forgetting. Oh, it's not Mel Allen. No, it's Red.
Adair?
Oh, my goodness. This is terrible because I've read his books. Legendary Yankees announcer, and where he sat for the game.
Well, not that legendary. You can't remember his name.
I've been doing the soccer thing for too long. I'm too far out of the baseball. All right, so let's get back to the soccer. And so, Matty, before we get to this game, we have, because it's a Sunday and the majority of the games were played yesterday, the playoff implications, became even clearer. We realize there are 10 games left, but look what Pascal Janssen said 2 days ago. Look what Kevin O'Toole said 2 days ago. And so that's why I say it's the mantra, because O'Toole was repeating what his head coach said, and that is every game is a final, because New York City right now is below the playoff line. And we've often talked about the schedule of games they have. The Columbus game was postponed because of field conditions, where the Mets said we can't allow Citi Field to be used right now. They resodded it. That was a Mets decision, but they are the primary tenant. So be it. And but it gave Pascal and his troops a little time to maybe rest up, get Nico Fernandez-Mercado more associated with his teammates and things like that. But anyway, it's a big stretch of games here.
It's a huge stretch. Look, the fact that it's on a Sunday means that I'm missing out on Hibachi with the girlfriend and her family. So firstly, I'm missing out on that. But secondly,
unless there's horseshoes involved, don't worry about it.
Kevin O'Toole is a Princeton grad, so he can follow a tactical plan. So he, of course, can repeat the mantra.
That's right.
But seriously, every single game is a cup final. Pretty much every game in the season should feel like a cup final anyway. You have to get yourself up for a game. But these 10 games now, especially today, Glenn, with 3 games in hand on most teams, or 2 or 3 teams, with 2 games in hand on the others, you've got to take advantage of that for me with those games in hand and really make them count. Look, it's so important for me.
Hey, we have a special guest listening in. Look who's here. It's Eber.
Oh, nice.
That's Eber checking us out. Eber, hello. How are you? We think of you often. And it's nice that you're listening in. And then my friend Norman here, it's Red Barber. He talked about being in the catbird seat. Norman, thank you so much. That was really harming me that I couldn't remember Red Barber, who is honestly listening to him a little bit, but mostly reading a couple of his books and the stories. Part inspired me to one day want to be a broadcaster after I coached for 30 years or whatever that was, It's interesting how this whole thing works, Matty. I don't know.
It is. And look, today is going to be a good game. Today is going to be a great game to broadcast on. Nashville are a very good team. But more importantly, NYCFC are a very good team and a very good team at home. They've won 8 out of 11 at home, Glenn. They haven't drawn any. They've only lost 3. They've won 8 of 11. That's great form. If you look at it in points per game, NYCFC are the 5th best team at home out of 30 teams. They are legitimate at home. They are very, very good. And I think it's absolutely imperative that this cup final today, Glenn, that they treat it as a cup final and that they take the 3 points. And like any cup final, it doesn't matter how you play. It doesn't matter how the goals go in. They can go off your backside. They can go in off the opposition. It doesn't matter. Today is all about winning a game of football to propel yourself up the league and back into those playoff places. I think it's vitally important after 90 minutes today, they're back in those playoff positions. Because I know how hard it is to, whether it be in a relegation zone or battling it out for playoffs. When you're in there, you feel so much better. When you are looking in or looking up from a relegation zone, which unfortunately I was in a couple of times, it's very hard to drag yourself out of it and very hard to drag yourself into a playoff position. So for me tonight, absolutely vital that they are sitting in those playoff positions after the game.
Well, they're in 10th now, which is a notch below with 38 points. After today, though, they'll still have 2 games in hand on the team in front of them who won last night, the New York Red Bulls beating Philadelphia over at Sports Illustrated Stadium across the river. And then a soon-to-be opponent, Chicago, is in the 8th position. New York City will have a single game in hand on them. And with a victory, though, New York City would force their way past both the Red Bulls and Chicago and into 8th place. So that I know that's what you're referring to. And then you've got those games in hand. Now, you have to do something with them. And one of those games in hand is Columbus. So
absolutely. And look, I think that's such a valid point as well. Firstly, get in there tonight in the playoff positions, but everybody above you, you've got to play as well.
Yep.
So you can take that. Every single one of those is that archetypal 6-pointer. So it is still in NYCFC's own hands, even though they're outside of the playoffs right now. It's in their own hands. It's that they are in control of their own destiny.
Well, points per game, Matty.
They're absolutely.
They're 8th in the conference.
Exactly.
So, kind of that's what you look at when you have this unbalanced schedule. Cincinnati, who will be the opponent next week at TQL, they got a big win last night, beating Portland 3-2. this was an interesting game because the game-winning goal was scored the 36th minute. Cincinnati went up 3-0, but it was scored by Evander, who Portland traded to Cincinnati. He was a bit disgruntled, depending on whatever the report is there. But Evander, he didn't really go quietly after he scored the goal either. He gave it the old, the shush or something. Yeah, something with the ears. I don't know, but so he didn't celebrate profusely, but he did give he gave the supporters section, the Timbers Army, a little bit of something.
It's always that cliche that whenever you let go of a player or whether you loan a player out and they come back and play you, they're going to score. You only need to look at Gabe Seagull, who hardly scored a goal all season for Houston, comes back here and gets a brace tonight. Right. It is one of those funny coincidences that seems to happen an awful lot in soccer. So, yeah, I like Evander as well. I'm not always a big fan of celebrating like that, gesticulating to the opposition. But he's a wonderful player, and you'd want him in your team.
And what a goal! It's another highlight goal from him. So I thought I'd go in order of who New York City has to play after today. So Cincinnati on the road, then they're back home against DC United, who came from behind and tied Montreal 1-1 last night. Chicago defeated St. Louis City at Soldier Field 3-2. So Chicago, when New York City plays a league-leading 50 goals, but they've also conceded 44, and only 3 teams have conceded more in MLS. So that's going to be an interesting game. Obviously, 2 teams fighting for a spot. Then Columbus, Toronto scored to tie up Columbus 1-1 in the 77th minute. Georgi Mihailovic got the assist on the game equalizer. And then Charlotte won their 6th in a row. That's down the road. But, again, this is the order of teams that New York City will play in. But they beat RSL, and that extends their club record to 6 consecutive wins. And Zaha has now, I think, if I have this right, has a goal contribution in 10 consecutive games after a slow start. Yeah, he seems to be picking it up.
Well, he was terrible against NYCFC, wasn't he? Relatively recently, but yeah. Look, he's an incredible player. As you know, Glenn, I trained with him when he was 16, 17 years of age at Crystal Palace, and he was pretty damn good then and very, very confident. He should be setting this league on fire more than he is. Yes, he's got those 10-goal contributions, but he has the ability and the tools and the age. He's only 31, 32 years of age. He's got a lot of years ahead of him. He should really be ripping it up in this league. At times, and I've spoken to friends back home who have either coached him or watched him time and time again, he just doesn't quite have that mentality sometimes. I think when we played against Charlotte, he lost his nerve and lost his temper in the warm-up. There's a problem if you're losing your temper in the warm-up with your own players, with your teammates. That doesn't always bode well for you, and it didn't on that night.
It's just and you saw it I saw him at Coachella. That's where he's making
temperamental.
His first appearances, and yeah, he went at it in his very first preseason game. Miami beat the Galaxy. We're going to go through the rest of the teams that New York City will play just to give you an idea. Miami 3-1 over the Galaxy. That was played in Fort Lauderdale, and if you haven't seen the assist on the Suarez goal from Lionel Messi yet, go find it. And Messi also scored a goal. So he had a goal and an assist, and played only a half of football. He didn't start the game. He came on in the second half. Miami was down initially, and then they came back and won that one. Red Bull New York beat Philadelphia, as we mentioned earlier. New York City will play Red Bull at Sports Illustrated Stadium, then play Philadelphia at Chester, Pennsylvania, and then the decision day game will be at home against Seattle, one of the best teams in the West. So as we go through each of the next opponents, that's what they have in store, which is why we are putting such an emphasis on today's game. Nashville has never won a road game against New York City either.
Yeah, look, the run of 10 games, as you've alluded to, and you've laid out very, very eloquently, Glenn, it's tough. But to get into playoffs, to win anything, any sport, in any walk of life, you have to beat the best. You have to beat the teams around you as well. And for me, and I'll reiterate it, Glenn, it's absolutely imperative that starts here today. It's certainly a must-not-lose game. But what we do know is that NYCFC don't draw games at home. So I've laid the curse right there, haven't I? 8 wins, 3 losses in their 11 home games this season. They don't draw games. So
well,
they've got to
had
win.
30 draws lifetime here in 130 games, but not this season.
Yeah. So look, win tonight, and win in any means. It doesn't matter. Just win the game. Doesn't have to be pretty.
So New York City has added a second transfer during this window. He's not with the club yet. Still the paperwork and the visas, and I never quite understand everything, so I don't talk about it too much other than to say I asked a question, when do you expect him in? And you'll hear Pascal's answer here in a moment. First, it was designated player Nico Fernandez-Mercado, who has looked the part. He's still getting himself back fit more than anything, but he assisted on Alonso Martinez game winner in his first appearance at FC Dallas. That was the last MLS game New York City has played, and then Fernandez-Mercado got a little bit more integrated during Leagues Cup, where New York City had 1 win and 2 losses and unable to advance out of that. But the new player is Raul Gustavo. So let me find Pascal Janssen talking about the newcomer, who is a back by trade, but he also played for Pascal in Hungary, and that's one of the key elements here. Here's Pascal. We've sort of brought him up surreptitiously along the way since there were rumors, and you finally got the deal done. So I'm sure you're happy about that.
Yeah, we are very happy to finally have Raul on board. Very happy also with the help from Ferencváros, that they were willing to sell him to us. Of course, Raul is a big piece for their team as well, but he wanted to make this step to come to New York, and I, for one, am very happy that he has chosen to come to us and not a different project, so looking forward to seeing him.
Since you've worked directly with him, maybe you can give us a bit of a scouting report. What we've read, he's left-footed, left central defender perhaps, 6'3", which might indicate he's very good in the air, but what do you say?
It indicates that. No, he has a lot of pace. He's a very fast and agile player, especially for his height. He's a good header, defensively and offensively, and also a very flexible player. He can play left centre back. He can also play one of the 3 centre backs left orientated if we play with 3, and he can even play as a left fullback if you play in a line of 4. So that's the interesting part about Raul. He's become a very flexible player because of his pace. Can defend big spaces as well, and with his feet he's quite comfortable as well. So very complete modern defender.
Are you able to predict or anticipate his arrival and when he might be ready, or is it just the paperwork and it runs its course?
Yeah, it's the second part. Yeah. You just have to wait until all the details for the paperwork have been done, and he's been keeping himself healthy and in training in Manchester, so we're very happy that they were willing to help us as well. And now the moment for his arrival in New York is getting closer, and once he's here we'll have to see where he's at exactly, but I'm hoping and trusting him that he will be available shortly.
All right, let's go over a few things that were said there. I've got training in Manchester, great in the air defensively and offensively, pace, and fullback. Because during this whole process, it was left central defense. But so there's some things there. Maybe just review briefly.
Yeah, the latter part, I think the left back part, the versatility is very, very important, because out went Berk Rieser, a left-sided centre-half, left-footed, who could also fill in at left back. So I think
he could do all 3 things because he was playing the left side of a back 3 as well.
Absolutely. I think it's important that they replaced Berk Rieser with somebody similar, and he's definitely that in terms of positioning. I hope that he's better in the air, in the attacking sense, in the opposition's penalty area, Glenn, because the centre halves, since the likes of Chanot and Carlins have gone, haven't achieved enough in the opposition penalty area, that's for sure. For me, the one thing I truly like is the fact that Pascal Janssen's worked with him before. If Pascal Janssen didn't fancy him in the slightest, he wouldn't be here. He wouldn't be in the door. So not only has Pascal worked with him before, he's been at Bahia before, which was part of the City Football Group. We know, as you said, he's in Manchester, which I think is great, the centralised location. He's a couple of hours closer from Hungary, a couple of hours closer west to New York. Hopefully the paperwork goes through. But I think Pascal Janssen is a good judge of a footballer, and I hope I don't put a curse on him. I think he's a good judge of a footballer, and I think he's a good coach. So from what I've seen of the new player of Gustavo, I haven't been massively impressed in terms of he hasn't played enough football. He's only really had one season at Corinthians playing, one season at Ferencváros.
But under Robbie Keane, who replaced Pascal at Ferencváros, last 10 matches, 1 minute of play.
Exactly.
And now he's been training in Manchester, so this has been in the works for a while.
So we know he's going to lack match fitness, that's for certain, but he should be fit enough to come straight in and certainly be on the bench. You could. There's no way in the world you can start him because his match fitness is going to be lacking. But I stick by what I said. Pascal Janssen has worked with him before. Pascal Janssen likes him because he's allowed him to come in. Pascal could have vetoed this. Whatever David Lee said, I think Pascal, and look, I don't know, but I would think that Pascal could veto this, saying, no, I've worked with him before. This is a non-starter.
And it might have worked the other way around. Pascal going to David Lee and saying,
absolutely.
Hey, this guy might fit. And as Kevin suggests, Thiago Martins, Gustavo at the back because of their pace. If he has similar pace to Martins, a central defense pairing where both could run is a massive advantage because you can play a higher line.
Yeah, it's a huge advantage. I think at the moment, Justin Hack would be very, very upset to hear anybody kick him in.
Well, you push him into the midfield. You're not taking Hack off the field.
No,
Hack is not coming off the field.
Absolutely not. No, and I'm saying that a bit tongue-in-cheek. He absolutely is one of the first names on the team sheet. You would have thought Matt Freese, Thiago Martins as skipper and a leader, and then pretty much Justin Hack. Hack's been phenomenal this season. No surprise that there's rumours out there about him going on to, bigger football clubs, and I don't think there's any detriment.
Rangers is the specific
look, Glasgow
club
Rangers are, without a shadow of a doubt, a bigger football club than NYCFC. I think he has earned the right to be included in those rumours. I'm not selling him off. I'm not letting his contract run out and him move. I think Justin Hack has been phenomenal, and I mean phenomenal this season in a multitude of positions for this football club.
We mentioned Thiago Martins went to training the other day, and he was on the scout squad, the second team, playing against the first team, 11 aside as they were going through some things. He didn't get involved in any contact, but he ran down Andres Pereira on what looked like it could be a breakaway on goal and just overcame Pereira and won the ball. So he had his pace back. 3 weeks out of surgery, Matty. And I think our experience with Martins, he's been injured rather seriously 3 or 4 times in his career, but he's recovered and always beaten the time of recovery. It's 6 to 8 weeks. No, he's back in 4 or 5.
Some of that is a little bit of luck in terms of genetics and your own healing process, but also a lot of that is how he looks after himself while he's injured and how stringently he sticks to his rehab program and what he eats around it. Everything's important. Nutrition, how he hydrates, and everything.
And everything
like
leading into it before he's injured, how he keeps care of himself even before. Yeah.
So often, the modern day physiotherapist, medical practitioner talks about prehab, about rehabilitation, rehabbing before you get injured almost, and that is something that we know Thiago Martins does very well. But also, you don't want to rush somebody back just because he looks good in training, he's ahead of schedule. You still just err on the side of being a little conservative with a player of his age and a player like him who has had some serious knee injuries in his time. I think it'd be silly to try and rush him back, and they haven't.
And in the 4 matches that he's missed, New York City has conceded 8 goals. So after a bit of a slow start to the season because he was coming off of injury there, he was exceptional during the greater part as the captain of the team. And New York City has conceded 29 goals in all, which is equal to Nashville. And that's the number 3. They're tied for 3rd in fewest goals conceded in Major League Soccer. So it's been good on that side of the ball for New York City for the most part. And now they're hoping that they can get the consistent goal scoring again from Alonso Martinez. Hannes Wolf, as you see, we're rolling the starting 11. No real surprises, just one change from the Toluca match, the last game of the Leagues Cup, where Hannes Wolf is in for Agustín Ojeda. Everything else is the same, and it includes Fernandez Mercado and Maxi Morales. And as those two develop and figure out Alonso Martinez in behind, that's what's going to be interesting to watch, I think.
Yeah, look, that is the best team available to Pascal Janssen right now, in my opinion. And that doesn't mean it's right, but it's what Pascal think. And I think, Glenn, you and I would suggest that that is the strongest starting 11 as of right now to those players available. Look, I'm going to be very interested to see how the back four holds up against Sam Surridge, who is second in the Golden Boot rankings. I think he's just one behind Lionel Messi
now. Yep.
Messi's got 19, Sam Surridge has got 18, but he's got another 90 minutes ahead of him. He's a very good goal scorer. He got the brace, obviously, down in Nashville as well. And then Hannes Wolf got the brace in the second half, didn't he? That's why it was 2-2. Let's see how Hack and Tanasiewicz not only deal with him, but also communicate with Surridge. Surridge is, or communicate with each other about Surridge. Surridge won't go and mark one of the centre halves. He will play in between the two, and he's also very, very good in the air. So they've got to keep a close eye on Surridge. And of course,
he's been a great goal scorer, right?
He
had 12 last year when Nashville they couldn't score goals.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's interesting about them this year. They've already surpassed last year's total with 8 games to play by 5.
Well, and Surridge is also already 6 ahead. He's already got 50% of what he got last year.
Well, he and Hani Mukhtar also 30 out of the 43 goals scored. Nobody else on the side has more than 2. So there's some of that going on as well.
Guess who you need to keep quiet?
There are some pretty obvious players that you need to stop. Now, the referee for tonight's match, I'm just going to bring him up, Filip Dujic. He's a Canadian. He was actually the fourth official for the last match that New York City played in Leagues Cup, Toluca, right here at Yankee Stadium, a 2-1 defeat. And so he's used to the grounds here at Yankee Stadium. But I wanted to bring him up because you don't often see a sort of a hysterical moment with a referee go viral. And this was funny, not to the St. Louis City supporters at the time, but St. Louis City, this is last June the 22nd, 2024. And as of last year, when there's a VAR review, the referee has a microphone and he talks to the television and radio audience, but also to the stadium to describe what the decision is and sometimes why, which is what he did here. Everybody thought he was checking an offside call, and then he had this. So here it is.
After review, there was no offside offense. However, prior to the goal, there was a foul committed by St. Louis. The final decision is direct free kick.
However,
hold your horses. Calm down. And he
did go to drama school, right?
Later on, he said, after the game, I started receiving messages from colleagues who don't really watch MLS at all, and they said, this is hilarious. He woke up the next morning, and that same clip that was sent had 1 million views on it. So it was pretty funny. That was pretty funny. Was it funnier than this, though, at the Chicago Fire match? Now, look, I'm not condoning pitch invasions.
However.
A little girl running onto the field. That was classic.
I just like the corner taker just lifted him over the hoardings as well.
You got to love it. But again, we are not condoning pitch invasions at all, unless you're under the age of 10. Then you're allowed to go and let the guard just let you run around a little bit. I think that's about all I got. We got the starting lineup here, and we have a very thin bench of only 8 players, 2 of which are goalkeepers. Now, the New York City FC 2 side has a game tonight as well. We're not certain exactly how much of a role that played in not having a Carrizo on the bench. or a Musu on the bench or a Bayera on the bench. But Pascal Janssen, after we recorded our interview for the pregame show, he talked about Bayera a little bit. He really likes the way he's progressing. And he said it in a way where he thinks that, he might contribute at some point. But we'll see. He's not on the bench tonight. And I have to assume that they're with the 2 team. And the curiosity for me and for you, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
And again, there's always a reason. So we're not saying there's not a good reason here, is that if this is a must win, why don't you have a full bench? But, that's, I don't know.
That's outside of our remit.
It is.
Yes,
it is.
But
so,
look,
like I said,
when you've got 2 short on the bench because you've got 2 goalkeepers and there's not a 9th, then let's hear the reason for that in a must-win game.
Yeah, we'll ask the question and respectfully understand that these things are always thought out.
Yes.
We do things that people object to also, Matty.
Daily.
Including the people we live and work with.
And I live alone.
Well, that's even worse. Hey, there's 3 games in all. So we kick off at 5:10 p.m. Our pregame show starts at about 15 minutes at 4:45. We'll have the pregame show with Pascal Janssen. If you're a Sirius XM subscriber and you're driving around, go to channel 157 starting at 5 o'clock. We'll be on Sirius. And at that same time also, we'll be on Apple TV on the MLS Season Pass drop-down portion of the app. You can just go find it in the lower right corner, and you can listen to the English hometown radio commentary over the synced video if you so desire. But a big one here, New York City entering the game in the 10th position in the Eastern Conference, just behind the New York Red Bulls. And it's Nashville SC. They are number 3 overall in MLS, 3rd in the East. It's a difficult Eastern Conference this year. And getting to the playoffs is going to be a difficult chore. It really starts here for New York City tonight at Yankee Stadium against Nashville FC. So hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for joining us. Eber, if you're still with us, great to see you, my friend.
Always.
And we will be happy to join you for the broadcast in just a few minutes. Enjoy the game, everybody.